The mining station Kepler's Edge floated quietly in space. It looked like a giant metal spider with long arms reaching out toward the moon below. The moon was full of valuable metals that many species across the galaxy wanted. That's why Captain Veltar had brought his crew here. Captain Veltar was a Thrixian. He looked like a large insect with 4 arms and big black eyes. His people were known for being careful and smart. Next to him stood Engineer Quolin, who looked like a blue fish that could walk on 2 legs. His wet skin always smelled like ocean water. Dr. Rixnell was there too. He was a saurian, covered in green scales like an old earth lizard, but much bigger and smarter. The new humans should arrive soon, Captain Veltar said. His voice made a clicking sound when he talked. I still don't understand why we need them. The mining company says humans are good at finding things underground, Quolin replied. Water dripped from his gills as he spoke. They also say humans are different from other species. Dr. Rixnell made a hissing sound that meant he was thinking different. How? Before anyone could answer, the communication system made a beeping sound. Captain, this is the transport ship Earth's Pride. We have your human consultants ready for transfer. Send them over, Captain Veltar replied. 20 minutes later, 2 humans walked into the main area of the station. The first one was a man named Hansel. He was not very tall, but his arms and shoulders were strong from years of hard work. His dark hair was cut short, and his brown eyes looked at everything carefully. He carried a bag full of tools that made metal sounds when he walked. The second human was a woman named Björn. She had long black hair tied back and wore a white coat covered in pockets. She carried a data pad and several strange devices that beeped and flashed with lights. Her eyes were bright with curiosity as she looked around the station. Welcome to Kepler's Edge, Captain Veltar said. I am Captain Veltar. This is Engineer Quolin and Medical Officer Dr. Rixnell. Hansel nodded and smiled. Nice to meet you all. I'm Hansel, mining specialist. Been digging holes for 15 years. Biora stepped forward. I'm Biora, xenobiologist. I study lifeforms from different planets. Thank you for having us. The aliens looked at each other. Most species were either scared or very formal when meeting aliens for the first time. But these humans seemed relaxed. Your job is simple, Captain Veltar explained as they walked through the station. We found some interesting readings deep under the moon's surface. The mining equipment can't get through some kind of hard layer. We need human expertise. Hansel looked at the data on his small computer. Looks like old rock formations. Probably been there for millions of years. I can get through it. Be careful, Dr. Rixnell warned. This moon is very old. Sometimes old places have surprises. Bjura's eyes lit up. What kind of surprises? Ancient lifeforms? Fossils? I love surprises. The 3 aliens looked at each other again. Dr. Rixnell's scales changed color slightly, which meant he was worried. Most species feared the unknown. But this human seemed excited by it. They spent the next 3 days preparing. Hansel studied the underground maps and prepared his drilling equipment. Bora set up her laboratory and tested the air and soil samples. The alien crew watched them work with interest. They are strange, Quolin whispered to Captain Veltar. Yesterday, Hansel asked me about the most dangerous animals on my planet. When I told him about the deep sharks that can bite through metal, he smiled and said they sounded fun to fight. Bjura is the same way, Dr. Rixnell added. She asked me about diseases and poisons. When I described the fleshrot virus that killed millions of my people, she took notes and said it was fascinating. Captain Veltar clicked his mandibles nervously. Their species files say humans come from a death world. Maybe that explains their strange behavior. On the 4th day, Hansel's drill finally broke through the hard layer. The hole was 300 feet deep and went straight down into darkness. I'm reading some kind of empty space down there, Biora said, looking at her sensors. It's big, really big. Like a huge cave or chamber. Could be natural, Hansel said. Or could be something else. Only one way to find out. Within an hour, they had set up ropes and lights. Hansel went down first, followed by Biora and 2 alien crew members. Captain Veltar stayed on the surface to monitor them. The chamber was enormous. Their lights could barely reach the walls. The floor was covered with strange symbols carved into black stone. The symbols glowed with a faint blue light. "This is incredible," Biora whispered. She was taking pictures and measurements. "These symbols are at least 50,000 years old, maybe older." Hansel was examining the walls. "Look at these scratch marks. Something big made these. Something with really sharp claws." One of the alien crew members, a young Thrixian named Kixvolume, began to shake. "Captain," he called up through his radio, "these symbols, ... I've seen pictures of them before. In our old history books, the dangerous ones." "What do you mean, dangerous?" Captain Veltar's voice came down through the radio. "These are warning symbols. Captain, they say, do not wake the sleeper, do not disturb the dark hunter. Death waits in the deep." Biora looked up from her work. "Sleeper? What kind of sleeper needs warnings carved in stone?" Before anyone could answer, her movement sensors started beeping loudly. Something was moving in the chamber. Something big. The blue glow from the symbols began to get brighter. A low sound, like the growl of a giant animal, echoed through the chamber. The sound made the alien crew members fall to their knees in terror. Their species had heard sounds like this in their nightmares for thousands of years. But Hansel just picked up his tools and stepped toward the sound. "Hansel, what are you doing?" Biora asked. "Something's waking up," Hansel said calmly. "Might as well say hello." From the darkness came a roar that shook the entire chamber. The sound was filled with hunger and rage. It was the sound of something that had been sleeping for a very long time and was very angry about being woken up. Red eyes, each one the size of a dinner plate, opened in the darkness. They stared at the small group of people with ancient hatred. The Voidstalker had awakened, and it was very, very hungry. The creature that stepped out of the darkness was 15 feet tall and covered in black armor that looked like insect shells. Its claws were as long as swords and sharp enough to cut through metal. Acid dripped from its mouth and burned holes. In the stone floor, the red eyes stared at them with pure hatred. The Voidstalker had been sleeping for 50,000 years. Now it was awake, and it was hungry. Kixvul, the young Thrixian, screamed and ran toward the ropes. The other alien crew member fainted and fell to the ground. Even through the radio, they could hear Captain Veltar making clicking sounds of pure terror on the surface. "Get out of there," Captain Veltar shouted. "That's a Voidstalker. They destroyed entire planets. Run." But Hansel didn't run. He stood there looking at the creature like he was studying a new piece of mining equipment. "Interesting," he said. "Look at how it moves, Biora. The joints in its legs are exposed." Biora was taking pictures with her camera, even as the monster took another step toward them. "The acid production suggests a highly efficient digestive system. And look at those claws. They're designed for both cutting and crushing." The Voidstalker roared again. The sound was so loud that rocks fell from the ceiling. It raised one massive claw and brought it down where Hansel had been standing. But Hansel wasn't there anymore. He had rolled to the side and was now behind a large stone pillar. "Fast, but not that fast," he called out to Biora. "I've seen earth tigers move quicker. Hansel, Biora, get out of there now." Dr. Rixnell's voice came through the radio. His scales had turned completely white with fear. "My people have stories about these things. They can phase through solid matter. They can become invisible. They are death itself." The Voidstalker proved the doctor right. Its body became see-through like smoke, and it walked straight through the stone pillar. Its claw came down again, but this time it hit Hansel in the shoulder. The sharp tips cut through his workshirt and left 4 bloody lines on his skin. "Oh, Hansel said, looking at the cuts. "That stings a bit." Biora threw one of her scanning devices at the creature's head. It bounced off harmlessly, but it got the monster's attention. "Over here, you overgrown lizard." The Voidstalker turned toward Biora. Its mouth opened wide, showing rows of teeth like broken glass. Acid spilled out and burned through the stone floor. Fascinating, Biora said, taking more pictures. The acid is strong enough to dissolve rock, but it doesn't seem to hurt its own mouth. Some kind of natural protection. Above them, Captain Veltar was shouting orders to his crew. Seal the entrance, get the weapons, call for military backup. Engineer Qualine's voice was shaking with fear. Captain, the military won't come. Nobody fights Voidstalkers, they're too dangerous. The only thing to do is run away and hope it doesn't follow. We can't leave the humans down there, Dr. Rixnall said. The humans are already dead, Captain Veltar replied sadly. Nothing survives. A Voidstalker attack. But in the chamber below, the humans were very much alive. Hansel had found his mining laser and was testing it on the creature's armor. The red beam hit the black shell and made sparks, but didn't do much damage. Laser doesn't work, he reported to Biora. The armor absorbs energy. Biora was running from the creature while looking at her scanner readings. The phasing ability has limits, she called out. It can only do it for a few seconds at a time, and it can't phase while it's attacking. The Voidstalker swung its massive claw at Biora. She ducked, and the claw hit the wall behind her. The impact sent chunks of rock flying everywhere. Also, Biora added, it's been asleep for 50,000 years. Its reflexes are a bit slow. Hansel nodded and picked up a piece of the broken rock. It was sharp and heavy. He threw it hard at the creature's face. The rock hit one of the red eyes, and the Voidstalker roared in pain and anger. You can hurt it, Hansel said, with satisfaction. Good to know. Above them, the alien crew was watching through a camera they had lowered into the chamber. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The humans are fighting it, Qualin whispered. They're actually fighting a Voidstalker. This is impossible, Captain Veltar said. His forearms were shaking. My people have genetic memories of these creatures. Just seeing one should make them run away screaming. Maybe humans don't have genetic memories, Dr. Rixnall suggested. Maybe they don't know they should be afraid. In the chamber, Hans had found a broken piece of metal pipe. He was using it like a sword, hitting the creature's legs at the joints where the armor was thinner. Each hit made the Voidstalker stumble slightly. Your people are right about one thing, Hansel called up to the radio. This thing is dangerous. But on Earth, we had dangerous things too. Biora dodged another acid spit and shouted. We had saber-toothed cats with teeth longer than kitchen knives. We had bears that weighed more than small cars. We had crocodiles the size of buses. What happened to them? Captain Veltar asked. Hansel hit the creature in the knee joint again. We killed them all, he said simply. Then we put their bones in museums for our children to look at. The Voidstalker was getting angry. It had expected its prey to run away in terror like every other species it had ever hunted. Instead, these small creatures were hitting it with rocks and metal pipes and taking pictures of it. It decided to end this quickly. The creature's body began to glow with dark energy. Its claws grew longer and sharper. Its acid became stronger. This was its battle mode, the form that had destroyed civilizations. Biora said, reading her scanner. Its energy levels just went up by 300%. Good, Hansel said, gripping his metal pipe tighter. I was worried this was going to be too easy. The alien crew above watched in horror and amazement as the two humans prepared to fight the Voidstalker at full power. Captain Veltar realized something that chilled him to his core. These humans weren't brave. They weren't stupid. They simply didn't understand the concept of a fight they couldn't win. In their minds, everything could be killed if you just hit it in the right place with the right tool. Dear stars, Captain Veltar whispered. What kind of planet creates creatures like this? The Voidstalker charged forward with incredible speed. Its massive claws reached out to cut the humans in half. But Hansel and Biora were already moving. They had been watching, learning, planning. The real fight was about to begin. The Voidstalker's massive claw came down like a falling tree. Hansel rolled to the left, and Biora dove to the right. The claw hit the stone floor so hard, that it cracked in a perfect circle around the impact point. Now, Hansel shouted. While the creature's claw was stuck in the stone, Biora threw her emergency flare at its face. The bright red light exploded right in front of the monster's eyes. The Voidstalker roared and stumbled backward, shaking its head. Its eyes are sensitive to bright light. Biora called out. That's why it lived in the dark for so long. Hansel was already moving. He grabbed the rope they had used to come down and started climbing fast. I need better tools. Keep it busy, keep it busy. Biora looked around the chamber. With what? She picked up another rock and threw it at the creature's other eye. The Voidstalker turned toward her and spit a stream of acid. Biora jumped behind a fallen pillar just as the acid hit the stone and melted it like ice cream. Above ground, Captain Veltar was pacing back and forth. His 4 arms were moving in nervous patterns. We should leave. We should take the ship and go far away from here. We can't leave the humans, Dr. Rixnell said, but his voice was shaking. The humans are dead. Captain Veltar clicked his mandibles. Nothing survives a Voidstalker in battle mode. Nothing. But Hansel's voice came through the radio.com. And steady. Hey Captain, I need you to open the tool storage room. Level 5, Section C, you're alive. Quollen gasped, water sprang from his gills in surprise. Of course, I'm alive. The thing is big and scary, but it's not very smart. Just like the cave bears back on Earth. Captain Veltar couldn't believe what he was hearing. Cave bears. Huge animals with claws like swords and teeth like daggers. They killed lots of humans for thousands of years. Then we figured out how to hunt them. Now they're extinct. Hansel's voice paused. Tools please, I have an idea. 10 minutes later, Hansel was back in the chamber. But now he looked different. He wore a metal vest made from mining equipment. His arms were covered with metal plates tied on with rope. In his hands, he carried a long spear made from 3 welding rods, stuck together. The tip was sharp and covered with chemicals from the mining supplies. Bora was still hiding behind rocks and throwing things at the Voidstalker. The creature was getting more and more angry. Its acid spit was making the air smell bad, and its claws had cut deep grooves in the stone walls. Nice outfit, Biora said when she saw Hansel very prehistoric hunter look. Thanks. I copied it from a picture I saw in a museum once. Ancient humans used to hunt mammoths this way. The Voidstalker noticed Hansel and turned toward him. It made a sound like breaking glass mixed with a lion's roar. Then it charged. Hansel didn't run. He planted his feet and held his spear ready. At the last second, when the creature's claws were inches from his face, he moved sideways and thrust the spear forward. The sharp tip went right into the soft spot between the armor plates on the creature's shoulder. The chemicals on the tip started to burn, and the Voidstalker screamed in pain and rage. First blood, to the human. Biora cheered. The creature spun around and tried to grab Hansel with its other claw, but Hansel was already rolling away. He came up behind another pillar and pulled his spear free. Black blood dripped from the tip. It bleeds, Hansel said with satisfaction. Everything that bleeds can die. Above ground, the alien crew was watching through their cameras. They couldn't speak. In all their history, in all their legends and nightmares, no one had ever hurt a Voidstalker. This is impossible, Captain Veltar whispered. The readings show the creature is wounded. Actually wounded. How are they doing this? Quollen asked. Our weapons can't even scratch that armor. Dr. Rixnell was studying the camera feed. They're not trying to break through the armor. They're finding the weak spots between the armor pieces. And they're working together like a hunting pack. In the chamber, that's exactly what Hansel and Bora were doing. Bora would distract the creature by throwing rocks or shining lights in its eyes. While it was distracted, Hansel would attack the soft spots with his spear. Then they would switch positions and do it again. The Voidstalker was getting frustrated. It was used to hunting creatures that ran away in terror. These humans kept coming back. Every time it turned to attack one, the other would hurt it from behind. Its left rear leg is limping. Bora observed. I think you hit something important in there. Good, now let's go for the other leg. Hansel threw one of his mining explosive charges at the creature's feet. The explosion wasn't big enough to hurt the armored monster, but it made a lot of noise and bright light. While the Voidstalker was confused, Hansel ran forward and stabbed his spear into the soft spot behind its knee. The creature's leg buckled, and it fell forward onto one knee. For the first time in 50,000 years, a Voidstalker had been brought down, but it wasn't finished. The creature's body started to glow with dark energy again. Its wounds began to close. The armor plates grew thicker. It's healing itself, Bora said, checking her scanner. And getting stronger. Then we better work faster, Hansel replied. He was already making another spear from the metal pipes scattered around the chamber. The Voidstalker stood up slowly. Its red eyes were now focused completely on Hansel. It had decided that this small human was the most dangerous thing it had faced in all its long life. It was right. The creature opened its mouth and let out a roar that shook the entire station. This wasn't just anger anymore. This was a challenge. One apex predator, calling out another. Hansel heard the challenge and smiled. He had heard sounds like this before, in his grandfather's stories about hunting wild boars in the Korean mountains. He knew what it meant. Bora, he said quietly. I think it's finally taking us seriously. Is that good or bad? Hansel tested the sharpness of his new spear tip. On Earth, when a dangerous animal finally realizes you're hunting it, that's when the real fight begins. The Voidstalker's claws grew longer. Its acid became stronger. Its armor became thicker. But Hansel wasn't worried. He had learned something important about this creature. It was dangerous, yes. It was deadly, absolutely. But it had one big weakness. It had never fought anything that refused to be afraid of it, and fear, Hansel knew, was what made creatures like this so effective. Take away the fear, and they were just big animals with sharp teeth. The creature charged again, faster than before. Its claws left sparks on the stone floor. Hansel raised his spear and got ready to show this ancient terror why humans were the most dangerous hunters Earth had ever produced. The chamber shook as the Voidstalker charged forward. Hansel waited until the last second, then rolled to the side. The creature's claw missed him by inches and hit the wall instead. Chunks of stone exploded everywhere. But this time, something was different. When the creature tried to pull its claw out of the wall, it was stuck. Hansel had rolled toward a section of wall where Bora had spread mining adhesive, a super strong glue used to hold metal pieces together. Now, Bora shouted. Hansel jumped up and drove his spear deep into the creature's armpit, where there was no armor at all. The Voidstalker screamed and thrashed its head around, trying to bite him. But Hansel was already gone, rolling away to safety. The creature finally pulled its claw free, but now it was limping on two legs and had 3 deep wounds. Black blood was dripping onto the floor and making small holes where it landed. Above them, Captain Veltar was talking rapidly into his radio. Emergency command. This is Captain Veltar, on mining station Kepler's Edge. We have a code black situation. A Voidstalker has been awakened. The voice that came back sounded tired and bored. Captain, Voidstalkers are legends. They don't exist. Tell that to the one that's bleeding in my mining chamber. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, much more interested. Did you say bleeding? Voidstalkers don't bleed, Captain. Nothing can hurt them. The humans are hurting it. They've wounded it 3 times. Another pause. Humans. What are humans doing there? In the chamber below, the Voidstalker was learning that these small creatures were not like any prey it had ever hunted. Every time it thought it had them cornered, they would disappear into shadows or behind rocks. And they kept hurting it in places it didn't know could be hurt. The creature decided to try a different approach. It moved to the center of the chamber and began to spin in a circle, swinging its massive claws in all directions. Nothing could get close to it now. Smart, Bora admitted. It's making sure we can't sneak up on it. Then we don't sneak, Hansel said. He was looking up at the ceiling of the chamber. We go over above their heads. Old mining pipes ran across the ceiling. They were rusty and looked dangerous, but they might hold a person's weight. Hansel threw his rope up and around one of the pipes. He tested it carefully, then started to climb. Keep it distracted. He called down to Bodashra. Bora picked up her emergency flare gun and shot a bright red flare right at the Voidstalker's face. The creature roared and stopped spinning to swipe at the flying light. While it was looking up at the flare, Hansel dropped from the ceiling right onto the creature's back. The Void Stalker had never had anything land on its back before. It spun around wildly, trying to reach behind itself with its claws. But its arms were too short. Hansel held on tight and drove his spear down into the gap where the creature's neck met its shoulders. This time, the scream that came from the Voidstalker was different. It wasn't just anger or pain, it was fear. For the first time in 50,000 years, a Voidstalker was afraid. The creature threw itself backward against the wall, trying to crush Hansel. He let go just in time and fell to the floor, rolling away from the creature's stomping feet. Its movements are getting slower, Biora observed. I think you hit something important. She was right. The Voidstalker was having trouble moving its head. Black blood was flowing more freely now, and its red eyes were not as bright as before. But the creature wasn't finished. It opened its mouth wide and spit acid at the ceiling. The acid hit the old mining pipes and melted them. Heavy metal pieces started falling like rain. It's trying to bring down the ceiling, Biora yelled, dodging a falling pipe. Hansel looked around quickly. The falling pipes were blocking their escape routes. Soon they would be trapped in here with the angry monster, but that gave him an idea. Biora, how much explosive do you have left? She checked her pockets. 2 small charges and 1 big one. Why, the big one? Give it to me. Biora threw him the explosive charge. It was about the size of a lunchbox and had enough power to blow a hole through solid rock. Hansel looked at the charge, then at the creature, then at the ceiling. I have a really stupid idea. How stupid? Stupid enough that it might actually work. The Voidstalker had stopped spitting acid and was now advancing toward them slowly. It knew they were trapped. Its mouth was open wide, showing all those glass-sharp teeth. Acid dripped from its tongue and burned holes in the floor. Hansel activated the explosive charge. It started beeping and flashing red. He had 30 seconds before it would explode. Then he did something that made Biora think he had gone crazy. He ran straight toward the Voidstalker. The creature was surprised but pleased. Finally, this annoying human was coming to be eaten. It opened its mouth even wider and leaned down to bite him in half at the last second. Hansel jumped up and shoved the explosive charge deep into the creature's throat. The Voidstalker's eyes went wide. It tried to spit out the charge, but it was stuck behind its teeth. It clawed at its own mouth, trying to get the explosive out. 15 seconds. Biora shouted, looking at her watch. Hansel was running back toward her as fast as he could. Find cover. They dove behind the largest piece of fallen stone they could find. Above them, they could hear Captain Veltar shouting through the radio. What's happening down there? The whole station is shaking. 10 seconds, Biora called out. The Voidstalker was thrashing around wildly, trying to get the explosive out of its throat. It smashed into walls and knocked down more pieces of the ceiling. 5 seconds. The creature looked right at Hansel. Even through its pain and fear, its red eyes burned with pure hatred. It took one last step toward them. Raising its claw for a final attack, the explosive went off. The sound was louder than thunder. The light was brighter than the sun. The entire chamber filled with smoke and dust and pieces of rock. When the noise finally stopped, there was silence. Then Biora's voice, very quiet. Are you okay? I'm okay. I'm alive. Is it ... They stood up slowly and looked through the clearing smoke. The Voidstalker was still standing, but its head was gone. Just gone. Black blood was spraying from its neck like a fountain. The headless body took 2 more steps forward, then fell over with a crash that shook the entire station. The apex predator that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years was dead. and it had been killed by a human with a homemade bomb. The smoke cleared slowly. Hanzol was sitting on a piece of broken stone, pressing a torn piece of his shirt against the cut on his arm. Biora was taking pictures of the dead Voidstalker with her camera, walking around the massive body like she was studying an interesting bug. "Remarkable," she said, measuring the creature's claws with a small ruler. "The bone density is incredible. The muscle fibers are unlike anything I've seen. This thing was built to be the perfect killer," was Hansel said, wincing as he tied the cloth tighter around his wound. "Now, it's just meat." Above them, they could hear footsteps on the metal stairs. Captain Veltar was coming down, but very slowly. His 4 arms were shaking as he held onto the rope ladder. "Are you sure it's dead?" His voice called down. "Pretty sure," Hansol called back. "Hard to live without a head." Captain Veltar reached the bottom of the chamber and saw the body. His big black eyes got even bigger. He walked around the dead creature 3 times, touching it with one finger to make sure it was real. "You killed it," he whispered. "You actually killed a Voidstalker." "We killed it," Hansel corrected. "Biora helped. I mostly just threw rocks and took pictures," Biora said. Hansel did the hard part. Dr. Rixnell and Engineer Quallen came down next. Dr. Rixnell's green scales had turned completely white, and water was streaming from Quallen's gills faster than usual. "This is impossible," Dr. Rixnell said over and over. "Impossible, impossible, impossible. Why do you keep saying that?" Biora asked. "It was difficult, but not impossible. We just had to figure out where its weak spots were." "Weak spots?" Quallen made a gurgling sound. "Voidstalkers don't have weak spots. They're perfect killing machines. They destroyed my people's home planet. They wiped out entire star systems." Hansol looked up from bandaging his arm. "How many of your people tried to fight them?" "Fight them?" Captain Veltar's voice went very high. "Nobody fights Voidstalkers. When they appear, you run away as fast as possible and hope they don't follow you." "Well, there's your problem," Hansol said. "You can't kill something if you're running away from it." Biora was still taking measurements. This creature relied completely on fear. Its whole hunting strategy was based on prey animals running away in terror. When we didn't run, it didn't know what to do. "But you should have been afraid," Dr. Rixnell insisted. "Every intelligent species in the galaxy fears Voidstalkers. It's built into our genes. Our ancestors who weren't afraid of them got eaten." "Ancestors were afraid of saber-toothed tigers and cave bears too," Hansol said. "But they didn't run away. They made better spears." Captain Veltar was recording everything with his camera. His hands were still shaking. "I have to report this to Central Command. They need to know what happened here." "What will you tell them?" Biora asked. "The truth. That 2 humans killed the most dangerous predator in known space using mining tools and explosives." 3 hours later, they were back on the main level of the station. Hansel had proper bandages now, and Biora had taken enough pictures to fill a whole scientific journal. The alien crew members kept staring at them like they were looking at ghosts. Captain Veltar's communication device was beeping constantly. Word was spreading fast through the galaxy about what had happened on Kepler's edge. "Emergency Command wants to talk to you," Captain Veltar told the humans. "So does the Galactic Council, and the Military Defense Force, and about 50 different news organizations." "What do they want?" Hansel asked. "They want to know how you did it, and they want to know if other humans can do it too." Biora looked up from her datapad, where she was writing her report. "Any human could have done what we did. We're not special. We just used basic hunting techniques that humans have been using for thousands of years." "Basic hunting techniques," Quallen repeated slowly. "You call killing a Voidstalker basic?" "Well, it's not rocket science," Hansel said. "You find the weak spots, you make tools that can reach those spots. You work together as a team. That's how humans have always hunted things bigger than themselves." The communication device beeped again. Captain Veltar answered it. "This is Admiral Kreshtar of the Defense Force," a deep voice said. "I need to speak with the humans immediately." Hansel took the communicator. This is Hansel. What can I do for you? You can tell me if the reports are true. Did you really kill a Voidstalker with primitive weapons? They weren't primitive. They were improvised. There's a difference. There was a long pause. Mr. Hansel, we have reports coming in from all over the galaxy. Ancient burial sites are being disturbed. Old tombs are being opened. Things that have been sleeping for millions of years are waking up. What kind of things? The kind of things that made entire civilizations disappear. Monsters from the early days of space travel. Creatures so dangerous that we built warning beacons to keep people away from the planets where they sleep. Biora looked interested. What kind of creatures? How big are they? What are their hunting patterns? Dr. Biora, the Admiral's voice sounded very tired. These are not research subjects. These are extinction-level threats. Some of them are bigger than spaceships. Some of them can eat metal. Some of them can survive in the vacuum of space. Sounds challenging, Hansel said. Challenging. The Admiral's voice went up several octaves. Mr. Hansel, one of these creatures once ate an entire moon. How big was the moon? What does that matter? Well, if it was a small moon, that's not so impressive. Earth has animals that can eat things their own size. Blue whales, for instance. Captain Veltar was listening to this conversation with growing amazement. The Admiral was describing the most terrifying monsters in galactic history, and the humans were talking about them like they were discussing the weather. Mr. Hansel, the Admiral said finally, I am authorized to make you and Dr. Bora an offer. The Defense Force will pay you more money than your planet has ever seen if you will help us deal with these awakening threats. Hansel looked at Bora. What do you think? Bora was grinning like a child on her birthday. I think it sounds like the research opportunity of a lifetime. Imagine all the new species we could study, and all the new hunting techniques we could try, Hansel added. I've been wondering if that explosive trick would work on something bigger, so you'll do it. The Admiral asked. Sure, Hansel said. But we'll need better tools, and maybe a few more humans to help out. How many more? I don't know, maybe a dozen. There are lots of humans who would love a chance to hunt monsters in space. After Hansel turned off the communicator, Captain Veltar sat down heavily in his chair. What have we done? He whispered. We've shown the galaxy that humans can kill. Anything is that bad? Bora asked. I don't know, Captain Veltar said, but I have a feeling that the universe is about to become a much more dangerous place for monsters. Dr. Rixnall was looking at his medical scanner, readings from the fight. According to this, their heart rates never went above normal combat levels. They weren't even scared. Should we have been scared? Hansel asked. Yes, you should have been terrified. You should have been screaming and running away. Why? Bora said. It was just a big animal with sharp teeth. Earth has lots of those. Engineer Quollen made a sound like water going down a drain. Just a big animal, he repeated. They think a Voidstalker is just a big animal. What else would it be? Hansel asked. Captain Veltar looked at his crew, then at the humans, then at the camera footage of the fight. I think, he said slowly, that we need to update our files on human classification. From what to what? Dr. Rixnall asked. From friendly trading species to apex predator species. Outside the station, space was quiet and peaceful. But across the galaxy, ancient things were stirring in the dark. Creatures that had slept for millions of years were opening their eyes. They didn't know it yet, but they had a new problem. Humanity had learned they existed, and humans, as the galaxy was about to discover, really enjoyed hunting things that everyone else thought were unkillable. The age of monsters was ending. The age of humans had begun,